Good afternoon, everybody. I'm so happy to be here with you on the first ESG India Leadership Award. And I'm thankful to Shankar Chakravarti, MD of Acquit Ratings, and also to some of my old colleagues and friends who are eminent person in their own right, Mr. S.S. Mudra and Mr. Arun Tiwari, with whom I had the occasion to work in the past, and both are in your board. It's a very important event today that we are launching the first ESG Leadership Award. I note that there are a total of 21 awards and 5 of them are principal awards. It's important for us to think and reflect that while the discussions globally and in India on sustainability, on environmental, social, and governance issues for corporations has been on the agenda for maybe over 3 decades, there have been significant developments in the last 2 years, 2020 and 2021. They are very, very important years for this movement to carry forward and get a leapfrog. I also cannot stop noting that this is the week when we are talking and we are meeting with you. This is the week when the Nobel Prize for Physics has gone to Professor Manabe on the issue of how to measure the climate changes and how to get into the roots of the climate changes. But interestingly, he has been given the Nobel Prize for a paper which he wrote in 1967. So that tells us that how things which have been moving in a certain directions for several decades, now the time has come for those things to be recognized globally and how it is important for all of us to take note of it. When I said that during 2020 and 2021, a number of significant developments have taken place. Let me bring you to the current year, 2021. This is a year when for the first time anywhere in the world, a judicial court in Netherlands has given an award against a very large company, that is the Royal Dutch Shell, saying that the plan that they have made for their own carbon footprint reduction is not good enough. And the interesting thing to note here is that it's a judicial court which has invoked the principles of human rights violations, and they have said that this is not something which we can allow, and they have imposed upon the company a requirement that they have to come out with more detailed and quicker action so far as their emission standards have to be reduced. I also want to emphasize that everybody, when this news came out first in May 21, everybody imagined and hoped that this is something which the court has perhaps gone out of its way, and the company is likely to go into appeal. But interestingly, the board of directors of the Royal Dutch Shell decided that they are not going for any appeal. They have accepted the extra demands on the company. And mind you, for a company which is in the business of hydrocarbon, implementation of this award involves 3% reduction in their gas emissions or carbon footprint emission every year. So in 10 years, they have to reduce it by 30%, but they have accepted this. So let us discuss what is driving all this. And in my view, there are 3 or 4 more important factors which are driving this movement. The first is the action by the governments, national governments, action by the regulators and the judicial courts. The second is the pull from the investor community. And the third is the development of technology and the progress towards measurement of reporting, measurement of emission, how much progress has been made there. I'll deal with all the three very shortly, one by one. Looking at the action taken by the governments and the regulators, you will find that long ago there were sustainable development goals, and many people in many parts of the world felt that this is something desirable, it should be done, but there were no direct action on the part of governments or the regulators that they have to be implemented in a particular manner and in a particular time frame. Now that is changing, and you will be happy to note that in countries after countries, and there are also various multilateral treaties and developments, that now there is more and more focus on the timeliness and on how to enforce it within a given time frame. The Dutch action which I talked about, you will be surprised that the court has invoked not only human rights, but they have also said that this is something which is unlawful endangerment of the environment, and no company has a right to do that. So nobody could have imagined that a court of law would get into this and force a large corporation like Royal Dutch Shell, but this has happened. And the duty of care to the society has also been imposed by this order. Let me take you to Germany. In Germany, this year, again in 2021, the parliament has passed a law where use of coal has been, the time frame for reduction in emission through coal has been reduced drastically by a legislation. And the important thing to note is that the earlier target was fixed only 18 months ago. So within 18 months, the German parliament has decided that this has to be reduced further. The European Union and the European Commission are working very seriously towards coming out with some standards, and I'll talk about that. In a given time frame, countries after countries are giving their commitment, they're giving out their commitment on what their country is going to do. Let me mention about the United Kingdom, for example. In United Kingdom, the Prime Minister has announced that by 2030, all the households will be heated. So the heating for the households will take place through offshore wind power energy and not through coal energy or any other hydrocarbon energy. This is a significant development. So countries after countries are doing it. Australia is thinking on those lines. Even India and China have announced their commitment that within a certain time frame they want to be net zero. So this is an idea whose time has come. Whether a paper was published in 1967 and the world recognizes and gives a Nobel Prize for it in 2021, or the SDG was framed 3 decades back, but then now everybody is talking about its timely implementation. The first point I would like to make that countries after countries, they are realizing, and there are reasons for it, lot of extreme events, even the pandemic, all that is showing very, very clearly that the waiting period is over. People and the countries and societies have to work in this. So a business corporation, in whichever part of the world they are, they have to take note of it. The second thing and second factor which I would like to emphasize in this direction is the pull. One was the push from the regulators and government. The second is the pull from the investor community. In countries after countries, in corporations after corporations, in their annual general meeting, some very, very strong demands are being raised. Again, to give you one example, in case of ExxonMobil in the United States, again in 2021, one investor which owns 0.02% in the company was able to mobilize enough votes to get a majority to reject 3 of the directors which had been proposed by the management. And they got 3 of their own directors appointed or recommended by them, and they were appointed. And the whole rationale was that according to the resolution moved by this activist shareholder, the names proposed by the management were not of people who had knowledge or who had shown commitments towards sustainability goals. So the whole argument was that these people are not knowledgeable. They have shown no commitment and they cannot be renominated. Or even if it was a fresh case in one case, they don't invite faith that they will be meeting the requirements of sustainability for the corporation. And these names were rejected. People were crestfallen. Who could have imagined that such a thing will happen even 6 months prior to that? That somebody who has 0.02% in the company will get support from the likes of BlackRock, from the likes of Vanguard, and they will be able to get their own resolution passed and the management resolutions defeated. And there are various factors behind it. Let me just mention 1 or 2 of them. The profile of investors globally is changing very fast. There are data to support that more and more investable money is in the hands of people who are in their 20s and definitely in their 30s. So that is happening in a big way. And you will also find that the millennials who are having investable surplus with them, they have a certain value system. They care for their own 30, 40, 50 years of life that they are left with, and they don't want to suffer, and they want to have their voices met. In 2019, Fidelity conducted a survey, and there were some revealing findings in that survey. 87% of the millennials indicated that they wanted to work in those companies which are scoring high on ESG parameters. 85% of them said that they would prefer to buy products made by companies which rank very high on ESG parameters. And 43% of them said that they want to invest in those companies which are scoring high on ESG parameters. For baby boomer generation, this percentage was 12%. So 43% versus 12%. So more and more money is coming into the hands of people who seriously worry about their environment. Not only that, the asset managers, whether you are a pension fund manager or you are an insurance company, the asset managers are under pressure from their own constituents about their own investment decisions. If, for example, there is a company which has created havocs with the tailings dam of the company failing and killing people, hundreds of people, or if you have invested in a company where the remains of aborigines are being disturbed to extract some extra tonnage of coal, the constituents of the pension funds or the constituents of the insurance companies or even mutual funds are not going to allow that. So there is now pressure on the asset managers from their own constituents. And that is leading to a situation where they have to be active. They have to force the corporations to start thinking seriously about it. In fact, almost all the big asset managers are under pressure to develop their own policy. Not only develop the policy, but also to report periodically about how they have been doing on it, what actions they have taken. And imagine that it's not that what they are saying is being accepted. They are being questioned. They are being questioned by analysts, they are being questioned by proxy advisors, and people are now reacting to what is called greenwashing, that whether it's a company or whether it is a large investor, if they say they have been investing as per ESG parameters, are they actually doing it or not? They are being questioned about it. The next thing I would like to say is that while we were talking about sustainability, we are talking about ESG, one important question was, how do we measure it? What is the yardstick? Company A versus company B, what is the comparability? And that has been a serious debate. And let me remind you, this debate was there also when for the first time globally, and starting with the US SEC, there was a requirement that the financial reporting should be in a manner which is a standard, which is comparable, which is something which can be assessed and appraised. That took decades. Similarly, on ESG measurement, there have been serious developments, but there have been serious differences as well. And it has taken its own time. When the idea of sustainable investment started getting ground, I'm talking of 1990s onwards, a cocktail of acronyms developed across the world. Agencies came up, organizations came up. We had CBP, we had PRI, we had GRI, we had TCFD, we had IMP, we had IIRC, we had SASP, and a whole lot of others. I am mentioning only a few of them. And it was discovered that all of them were working at cross purposes. Some were having their own ideas about what should be the focus, some were having something different. And in this situation, corporations not willing to subject themselves to the discipline of ESG were getting away. Last 2 years, 2020 and 21, there has been serious development about how to combine all these efforts and create a consensus so that in future, there is at least a comparable and a standard reporting system in the whole world. In 2020, the International Integrated Reporting Council, IIRC, and Sustainable Accounting Standard Boards, SASB, decided to merge. And this was a major development. Both the agencies had tremendous problem in the past, but I am happy to note that this year, 2021, they have got formally merged. SASB and IIRC have merged formally, and they have created what is called the Value Reporting Foundation, VRF. And now we are in the next stage of this consolidation. VRF, Value Reporting Foundation, and the IFRS Foundation, they are working together to create what is called SASB, Sustainable Accounting Standards Board. And let me remind you that SASB has already got 77 industry standards. They have already published 70 standards. And now the ISSB is likely to be created. In fact, the hope is that before the summit in Glasgow in early November, before that, there might be, if we are all lucky, there might be a big announcement. What this will lead to is that a company in any other part of the world or registered in any other part of the world and having operations in other countries will have to follow the discipline of reporting in a particular format that is comparable with other companies in other parts of the world. The major issue in financial reporting for a long period has been comparability. And so far as sustainability reporting is concerned, again, this has been the main issue so far. So I'm optimistic that this confluence of various factors These factors will bring together very soon, not in a distant future, a situation where it will be difficult for corporations to avoid implementation of the standards which are demanded. Parallel to this, there is another development which I must mention here, that the International Organization of Security Commissions, like the US SEC, which is the Security Commission for the USA, we have an international organization, IOSCO. IOSCO has been working very seriously in this direction, and in the European Union, EFRAG has come out with its standards, which may be binding for the European companies. There is a strong possibility that US SEC is likely to announce its own standards. I must remind my viewers that in India, the SEBI, Security and Exchange Board of India, had come out with a reporting standard called BRR, Business Responsibility Reporting, started in 2012. This year, again in 2021. So mind you, 2021 is really, really important. SEBI has come out with what is called BRSR, Business Responsibility and Sustainability Standards, Sustainability Reporting Standards. And they are being made mandatory for top 1,000 companies. If some of you care to go through the BRSR, you will discover that it is very detailed, it is quantitative, it is comparable, what type of scope 1, scope 2 or scope 3 emissions are being done, what type of effluent discharge is taking place, what type of solid waste disposal is taking place, what type of social factors you are following, what type of whether bonded labor is being employed or not, not only in the company but also in the supply chain. All those things will have to be reported in a quantifiable manner. And the moment it is done, imagine it will be very easy for any analyst, any rating agency, any proxy firm to compare company A from company B. And when that happens, you can imagine how much pressure will be built up on the companies who were claiming wrongly so far that they are doing all the right things and clicking all the right buttons so far as sustainability is concerned. But I must also add that this part, the measurement part, is a difficult part. It's not very easy. We are making a lot of progress. And here I want to mention about technology. Technology is helping in a big way. Recently, about a week ago, I went to see an aluminum plant in India. And I was told, and I was surprised, pleasantly surprised, that on a real-time basis, whatever are the measurements on emission standards, and there were 10 or 12 parameters, they are being fed simultaneously on real-time basis with the pollution control authorities. It's not a question of the company recording something today and reporting to them after a lag of 1 hour or 1 day or 1 month. It is being recorded there. And now we are also moving away from what is being reported to what is that can be measured. I give you the example of measurement from the company going directly to the pollution control authority. There is now technology available that on a remote basis, those who are interested, they can measure these parameters without depending upon the company to make any reporting of it. So measurement is going to be very, very stiff. And it is in this context that I'm particularly pleased that Acquit Ratings has come out with this attempt to do ESG Leadership Award. It's a step in the right direction. It's very timely initiative. They have 21 awards today and 5 are in the premier category. But more importantly, as things emerge, Acquit Ratings is a very dynamic organization. I'm sure They will also be making modifications as we move along, as reporting standards improve, as companies start putting a lot of data in public domain. This will also be further modified as we move along. But as an initiative to have the first ESG India Leadership Award, I must compliment the company, Equity Ratings, and its senior management and the board. And I'm very thankful for them to invite me for this interaction with all of you. Thank you very much.